In my hands are 4 of this year's best-selling, most popular game improvement irons, and today I'm going to put them through their paces as an average swing speed mid-handicap golfer, capturing all the data on TrackMan to work out objectively which 2 of these irons are the best performing for their price point, and going through to my final to be in with a chance of being crowned the best game improvement iron in 2025. Let's get stuck in. So before we start hitting shots, I just want to tell you how we're going to conduct this test. In a second, I'm going to hit a batch of shots with all 4 of these irons back to back, and I'm going to show you a subset of those shots in a few minutes. For each iron, I'm going to talk you through my subjective opinions on looks, feels and sounds, and call out any immediate reaction to the TrackMan data while we're here in the bay. But when we go home and dissect all the TrackMan data afterwards and overlay that price point, we will talk completely objectively, and I'll make my decision on which 2 are going through to the final based purely on that objective data. Now, for those of you that are eagle-eyed and watched my first semi-final, I did promise you that I would include the Cleveland Zipcore XL in this semi-final. Unfortunately, the guys no longer stock it for custom fitting here at Portsmouth Golf Centre, but it is an unbelievable option at a fantastic price point, the cheapest out of all 10 irons that would have been in my semi-final. So if you can still pick up a set and you like the look of it, please don't be discouraged, because it is an absolutely brilliant option, and there's a link up there in the corner to my review of it if you're really interested in watching how that iron performed. Right, let's set up the test, starting some shots, and we'll start with that Callaway Ai300. Now, the Callaway Ai300 is an iron that when I tested it before, I thought it was absolutely brilliant for combo setting with that Ai200, because the looks blend absolutely seamlessly and better than any other 2 irons on the market, in my opinion. So if that's something you're looking at and it's important to you, I think this might be the best iron in this semi-final for offering out those needs. Although the Titleist T350 does offer a really credible option, now we've got the new T250 as well. Now, first shot out the gate tonight, we've got 108 of ball speed. You can see my club head speed's a bit down. I'm actually suffering from a really bad blister on my hand at the moment. I'm struggling to actually hit the club as hard as I would like to, and that might be the case tonight all the way through this video, but we'll see. So 108 of ball speed's really good at that club head speed for me, carrying at 156, which is a really strong number, spinning at 4.2 on the lower end of what we're expecting to see out of game improvement irons, especially based on that semi-final 1. The launch, the height and the land angle, not amazing, but certainly good enough for first shot of the night based on my delivery being down. That's lovely. Just a really nice penetrating ball flight actually on that occasion, but that one certainly has come out really hot out of the middle. 107 of ball speed, 157 of carry because it's really penetrated. 3.671 of spin does feel a little bit low, launching at 19 degrees, 74 feet of peak height, landing at 41. That's a beauty. Feel off of the face is solid, but despite the fact that I'm using also a premium ball that's a bit firmer than what I would use, it definitely feels when you catch them out the middle, exactly like that one, that you can just feel that little bit of face and ball compression together, even at the speeds that I'm delivering, and that's backed up in that one there. Look at the numbers that time round. 111.4 of ball speed, 162.6 of carry, spinning at 4135. Again, that launch is a little bit low at 17.3, 75 feet of peak height and landing at 41. And the one thing I would say is you'll see tonight that some of my attack angles are a lot lower than I normally am. I'm down, this one here, 3.8 down, but you'll see a lot more closer to 2 and 3 down. Really working on that number with my coach at the moment. Typically I can be around 1 down with an iron, really flippy with it, and that's when we get the really high peak heights. You might see some peak heights tonight that are a little bit lower, and that's just because of the thing that I'm working on when you're comparing this to semi-final 1, and that's why we'll do a final of the best 2, because it gives them all a chance to be compared on the same day. Yeah, that's 2 in a row that are just magic. Really good again, 109.5 of ball speed. I always think when I'm getting close to 110 of ball speed with a 7 iron, that's a really good number for me. Again, my club head speed is down a mile an hour or 2 tonight. Still carrying at 156.5. That was as good as everything we saw in semi-final 1. Spinning at 4.7, which is a really good number. We've seen 2 or 3 really good spin numbers out of this now. That launch still low at 17.7, peak height 76 feet and landing at 42. But as I just touched on earlier, my angle of attack 4.6 down there. This is me being very aggressive on that. And then you can deliver shots like that. That's gone so high. That one definitely hasn't launched low. Yeah, so 109 of ball speed, 158.2 of carry, spinning at 4.4, launching at 18.8, 79 feet of peak height, 43 of land angle. So first impressions tonight, hitting this iron again, Really love the look of it. If looks are important to you, and like I say, combo setting is important to you, this has to be right at the top of your list for game improvement to player's distance combo setting. In terms of performance, feels really nice, particularly for those centered strikes. There is a little bit of softness to that face as ball and club come together. That feels really, really nice. And in terms of the numbers that we've been getting out of it, really impressed with it actually this time round. Expecting all my heights and launches to be a little bit lower tonight, like I say, due to some swing changes I'm making. Maybe the only question for me in the bay is spin rates do seem to be a little bit erratic. Some are quite high, some are a little bit lower. So we'll see if that continues with the other irons in this test. Let's move up to the next club. That's a beauty. So the Ping G440, I remember loving most of the G400 range over the last few years, and the 440 is just another really credible option. Those who have watched my channel for some time know I'm a big fan of Ping, particularly in the top end of the bag. I gain them in driver and fairway woods and hybrids. I don't think anything can beat them for mid to high handicappers. When it comes to the iron, my only question mark over the last year or so with some of their irons is I do think they have been a little bit lower spinning than I would like, but they've been absolute rockets. And first one out of the gate tonight, that's exactly what we're seeing with the G440. 111 of ball speed, 161 of carry off of an incredibly centered strike, spinning at 4485, 16.9 of launch, 75 feet of peak height, 41 of land angle. Oh yes. The one beautiful thing about my slightly lower, more penetrating ball flight tonight is it's really getting through that wind. Ball speed again, second shot out, absolutely flushed it. 112 of ball speed, 160.8 of carry, 4518 of spin, launching at 16, peak height 71 feet, land angle 40. Now moving straight from this, from the Callaway, a couple of things that stand out to me. It really is noticeable to me because it's got quite a high shine finish on this iron. It does look like there's a little bit more offset there than it did look visually down at address with the Callaway. Some of you will like that, some of you won't. I do love the perpendicular line that you get at the bottom infield. It really helps you to frame the ball and make sure you've got the club set 90 degrees to that target. And I do also like how the weight of this head feels. It doesn't feel too heavy, but just feels really nice with the Ping stock shaft that we're testing with today as a combination overall. But another one that's an absolute rocket there, 111 of ball speed, 160.2, 47 of spin, 18.6 of launch, 83 feet that time of peak height, and 44 of land angle. That's 3 shots that have all carried over 160. It's a really strong start. If you're looking for distance, this could be the one in this semi-final. Hit a little baby cut that the wind's then exaggerated. Now, there's a common belief that as golfers, we interpret feel is actually the sounds that we're interpreting. And there may be some truth in that, but that one there still felt and like also still sounded the same to me as the other ones, but it did feel like there was a little bit more softness to the face. Doesn't feel as soft to me off of the face as the Callaway. Definitely think that feels a little bit better, but I definitely think there's a little bit of softness when you catch it like that out the middle. And the numbers again, 111 of ball speed, 159.6 of carry, totaling at 4781, 17.6 of launch, 78 feet of peak height and 43 of land angle. That one has gone into orbit and powerful. I'm incredibly impressed by the consistency of this iron. That is unbelievably mind-blowing. 111.6, I think all the ball speeds have been 110 to 111 so far, and all the carries have been between 159 point whatever and 161 point whatever. And I've struck it in slightly different parts of the face. That's unbelievable. As golfers, like, okay, the ball flight might be a little bit different, the strike might feel a little bit different, but if it still gets to your number, that's exactly what you want in a game improvement iron. Bit of a pull draw to finish, unfortunately. It's going to be outrageous. 113.7 of ball speed, 164 of carry, such a centered strike, spinning at 4.4, launching at 16, peak height 73 feet, landing at 40 degrees. So thoughts on the Ping G440. Might not be to everyone's taste in terms of sounds, and it might not be to everyone's taste in terms of looks, particularly when it's down at address with the amount of offset that is visible to me here on the bay. However, if you are looking for more distance out of your irons, this iron absolutely delivers it. In both or 3 times that I've tested this iron, it's delivered it every single time. It's a great distance option. The one thing I'm impressed with tonight is it is delivering a little bit more spin than I saw from it before, and that's a massive uptick for me. Right, let's move up to our next iron, which is the Titleist T350. Geez, that's come out penetrating and hot. So the Titleist T350 is probably the iron in this semi-final. If money was no object, I and probably most of you would go out and buy. It's a Titleist. It comes with an amazing reputation. Their irons over the last X number of years have been absolutely fantastic. They hold their value incredibly well. They look great, they sound great, they feel great, but they are incredibly expensive. This is the most expensive iron in this test, and it's double as expensive as some of the other options that we're comparing it to. So for me to recommend this in an objective test where we're looking at price and performance, it's got to deliver something outstanding, and we're going to see if it delivers that. Now, first shot out the gate, it's delivered 112 of ball speed, which is incredibly fast, with 160 of carry, off a 4.3 of spin, so on the lower end of what we're hoping to see today. At 14 of launch, 61 feet of peak height, and 40 of land angle. So it's a really low penetrating golf shot that has cut through the wind here today, but it's not going to deliver loads and loads of stopping power because it hasn't got enough spin or height. So let's see if we get a bit more as we hit a few more shots. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Just a baby draw off of the target. Yeah, 111 of ball speed. It's kept up with the ping 2 shots in a row in terms of distance at 161.8. Spinning at 4,000 is on the low side though, and it definitely is coming out in terms of ball flight on the lower side so far. That's 16.4 of launch, peak height of 70 feet, and landing at 39. Now again, don't be confused if you're comparing this to my other semi-final. I have had a lesson. I'm striking it differently. You can see my angle of attack is down. I'm definitely hitting it higher up on the face, and that's why we're seeing that more penetrating, flatter ball flight. Oh my God, what a golf shot. I do like the sound of this one. I don't know if it's better than the Callaway, but certainly better than the Ping. It's got a really nice sound as club and ball come together. It makes you feel like you've hit a powerful golf shot just like we did there, and it gives you a really nice bit of positive feedback, particularly when you hit it out the middle like I haven't tonight. 113.6 of ball speed, 165 of carry again. 4250 of spin, a little bit low, and that might be the reason we're getting a bit of extra distance out of it. It might be spinning a little bit lower than some of the other irons we've tested, but it's definitely launching a little bit lower, definitely a more penetrating ball flight, but you'll see it's still getting up in terms of peak height, so it's giving you a bit more of that than that I sometimes get when I'm testing. Yep, absolutely unreal. Absolutely beautiful. 113 of ball speed, 165 of carry, 4462 of spin that time. Much better number. Launching at 16.9, peak height 77.7 feet, landing at 42. That's really good. 112 of ball speed, 163 of carry, 4.1 of 3.6 of spin. Definitely a little bit lower spin. That's why we're seeing the distance out of these. Launching at 16 degrees, peak height 70 feet, landing at 39.2. So the Titleist T350, it is without a doubt the one that if money is no object, all of us would go out and buy. I do have that niggle about the spin rate based on what I'm seeing tonight compared to some of the other options, but in terms of feels, in terms of looks, in terms of just how it makes you feel when you hit it out the center, this is the iron that I and so many people would buy. But we do have one more iron in this test that's the cheapest iron in this semi-final, and that's the Wilson DYNAPWR. Let's see how it can keep up. So when I first tested the Wilson DYNAPWR, the way I summarised them is that you got 95% of the performance of the best irons on the market for somewhere in the region of 60% of the price. And that's why they're going to be a really strong contender in this semi-final, because we're being completely objective and looking at price and performance only. And to prove that, the first shot tonight that I've just hit with it is 113.5 of ball speed, and it's carried at 164 with 4,200 of spin, launched a little bit lower at 14.7, 66 feet of peak height and 38 of launch. But that's my first shot of it, and it's a slightly heeled strike. It's a really strong start, right? Oh my God, there's a golf shot. 113 of ball speed, 167.5 of carry, 3913 of spin, launching at 16, 71 feet of peak height, 40 of land angle. I want the spin to be higher, I want the peak height to be a bit higher. But that looks like the Titleist numbers, right? It's half the price. And that one just proves they can get in the air as well. 113.7 of ball speed straight out the middle, 166 of carry, 4.2 of spin that time, much better number, 16 degrees of peak of launch, 73 feet of peak height, and 40 of land angle. That's much better. Oh my God. That's when golf just feels easy. It's actually slightly lower on the face, but felt incredible. 113.8, 164 of carry, 4325 of spin, 14.7 of launch, 67 feet of peak height, 38 of land angle. Wow, but that felt great. 113.8 of ball speed, 167 carry, 4075 of spin, 16.4, 74 feet of peak height, landing at 40 degrees. We're about to go home and look at all the data, but my gut feeling the bay is just like last time I tested this iron. It keeps up with the best in the business at a fraction of the price. It's going to therefore be a really strong contender for going through to that final. But let's go home now, let's look at all this data side by side and then objectively pick which two irons are going through to my final. Right, so you've seen me hit the shots, now it's time to dissect all of that TrackMan data. Now before we do, just want to call out, you've got two tables on screen, the averages at the top and the standard deviation or consistency on the bottom, and we'll use both of these tables to help us illustrate objectively which one of these irons is the best performing or the worst performing. One thing to call out as well is the loft of these irons. Three of them, the Callaway, the Ping and the Titleist, are 29 degrees of loft, so very consistent. The Wilson is a 28 degree lofted 7 iron, so it is worth bearing that in mind as we move through the data sets. You'd expect it to be a little bit longer, a little bit lower spin and a little bit lower in terms of its ball flight, and it has delivered on all three of those things. I think if we were to bend it to 29 degrees, you'd see performance very similar to the other irons in this test. So starting on the left hand side, the key thing I want to call out here is which iron was the fastest and the slowest. Well, using that smash factor we can determine that. You can see here that the Ping G440 with 1.43 and the Wilson DYNAPWR with 1.43 were the fastest two irons in this test, with the Titleist T350 marginally behind at 1.42 and the Callaway Ai300 lagging behind all three of them at 1.39. Just to show you my strike location, you can see the average strike with each of these four irons. I was a little bit lower on the face with the Callaway Ai300, and that may be contributing to some of those speeds, whereas I was a little bit higher up the face with the other three irons. Moving across the distance, we can see that it's no surprise that the Wilson DYNAPWR is the longest iron at this test at 164.8 yards, with the Titleist marginally behind at 163.7, but you can see that the carry number with the Ping was still very good at 160.5, particularly given the fact that my club head speed was lower, and the Callaway Ai300 at 158.4 is certainly not bad. I carry my own 7-iron between 154 and 156, so all four of these irons in the game improvement category are longer than my current iron. Now in terms of those spin rates, this is where the Ping seriously impressed me. It has the best spin rate by some way. At 4544, it's over 300 revs better than the next competitor, and the other three irons only have 200 revs between them. Also interesting at this point is how good the consistency was with the Ping, the Titleist and the Wilson versus that Callaway, where the consistency of the spin was a little bit all over the place. Now this is just one test in my hands, and it might be different if you do more testing with it, but it is just worth calling out that on the day the spin rate wasn't as consistent. Now in terms of those ball flights, what we can see is that the Wilson does deliver the lowest, flattest ball flight with the lowest launch angle, the lowest peak height and the lowest land angle. The Callaway does redeem itself here because it does deliver a slightly stronger ball flight, and it has the highest launch angle, and it's marginally behind the Ping in terms of its peak height and its land angle. Again, the Ping seriously impressed me here. It's got the second highest launch angle, the best peak height and the best land angle, and the consistency of all four of the irons in this part of the test was very, very strong. Final thing I want to call out is the shot dispersion. I do think when looking at shot dispersion, front to back dispersion is more important to left to right, because I want to know that if I do pull one down the right or push one down the left as a left-hander, that the distance is going to be really similar and I'm going to get myself pin high still. And for that reason, I think the Wilson DYNAPWR has delivered the best consistency here in terms of that shot dispersion, because the front to back is tightest. I do think the Ping is the worst, but I don't think there's a lot in it between the Callaway, the Titleist and the Ping. And if I'm honest with you, I'd take all four of these dispersion circles for a dozen 7-irons that I've hit back to back with a club that I've just picked up for the first time that day. So overall, some really interesting numbers from all four irons. Let's work out which two are going through to our final. So now that we've objectively looked at the performance, it's time to overlay that price point and decide which of these two irons are working their way into my final. Now for me, there are two irons that stand out in terms of their price, the Ping G440 and the Wilson DYNAPWR. They're significantly cheaper than the other two irons in this semi-final, and I think their performance has kept up with those other two irons, and therefore they are the two picks for going through to my final. The Ping delivers the strongest ball flight, the strongest spin rate, and some really good distances, and therefore is a credible option for so many golfers needing a little bit more control and a little bit bit more help getting the ball in the air in a game improvement package, whilst the Wilson DYNAPWR is the distance merchant, and it does still deliver some really good performance that was comparable to that Titleist T350 at only 60% of the price. Now, if price isn't important to you, just go out and buy the Titleist. It's the best looking, the best feeling, and overall the iron that I would just buy if money was no object, because it holds its value as well, and I really enjoy using that iron out on the golf course and practicing with it as well. Equally, if you are the golfer looking to combo set your irons, I touched on this at the start of the video, but buy the Callaway Ai300, because alongside the 200, it does combo set immaculately. You wouldn't notice the two irons looking different in your bag versus the 200 versus the 300 writing on the back of them. They blend in that seamlessly, and it's a great iron, and on another day it would have performed just as good as the other three and worked its way into my final. Now, if you've got some value out of this video and you'd like to return the favour, all you need to do is hit that thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that golfers just like you may be interested in watching this video. Equally, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel and you want to get notified when that final lands in the next couple of weeks, make sure you hit that button that's popping up for you right now on screen. Equally, if you think you may be interested in watching another one of my videos right now, there's two options popping up there for you. Press one of those and you'll be taken to it straight away. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.